You ever wonder what the NCAA would look like if they had relegation rules? Like, what if Alabama went to the Sun Belt and Georgia Southern moved up to the SEC? That would be insane for Georgia Southern fans. Not only for the fans, but for the school. Recruiting would skyrocket, NI deals would skyrocket. I mean, who doesn't want to play in the SEC? And Georgia Southern would, be in the SEC, so people would want to play for them. Now, for Alabama, that would be quite embarrassing to watch your team dominate for years and all of a sudden a crappy season and then lose to a Sun Belt team and go to the Sun Belt. They would probably lose a lot of recruits, a lot of money, and a lot of their fan base, to be honest. But unfortunately, relegation rules don't exist until today. Now, the relegation rules are quite simple. Power 5 conference teams are going to have to fight to stay in their conference. Because what's going to happen is the top 2 teams from the group of 5 conferences will play the bottom 2 teams of the Power 5 conference in a bowl game at the end of the season. Now, the winner decides what happens to the conferences. Now, if the Power 5 team loses to a group of 5 team, that group of 5 team will move up to the Power 5 pool. For example, UVA is the worst team in the ACC, and Louisville is the best team in the AAC. Don't worry, the conferences have been updated for this actual video, just not for this demonstration. Now, UVA will be playing Louisville in a bowl game, and if Virginia wins, they stay in the same conference. That's pretty simple. However, if they lose, Louisville will move up to the ACC, which will relegate Virginia down to the AAC. That's going to be pretty embarrassing, even though UVA is UVA and they're an embarrassing school to begin with, as you can tell. Virginia Tech Hokie, baby. Nobody cares about UVA. So hopefully they stay in the AAC. But that's just a sample, so that doesn't matter for this series. Now in this series, we are going to be doing 50 years of relegation, just to see what the landscape of the NCAA would be in 50 years. Now in this relegation series, we are going to have the matchups of the Power 5 and the Group of 5, starting with the ACC and the American, Big 10 and the MAC, Big 12 and the CUSA, the Pac-12 and the Mountain West Conference, and the SEC and the Sun Belt. Now could you imagine being an SEC school and being relegated to the Sun Belt? What an embarrassment for any team in the SEC to move down, even for Vanderbilt, because I mean, you just don't want to be in a group of 5. But the group of 5 sure do want to be in the Power 5 because they know that they're going to get tons of recruits and they're going to get tons of money. So, got 50 years to see. Each episode that I will do, including this one, episode 1, will have 5 years in it. And we will see what the landscape of college football looks like in every 5 years. So there will be 10 episodes in this series. Hope you guys like it. But for right now, let's get into it. So in year 1, the bottom of the ACC would be Syracuse, Georgia Tech going 1-11 each, and the top of the AAC, UAB and Tulane. The bottom of the Big 10, Minnesota Rutgers 3-9 and 1-11. The top of the MAC, Kent State and Toledo 11-1, 7-5, and the bottom of the Big 12 is Cincinnati 6-6, Iowa State 2-10, and then the top of the CUSA, Western Kentucky and UTEP 9-3 and 10-2, and the bottom of the Pac-12 will be 3 teams: UCLA, Stanford, and California, and the top of the MWC will be Fresno State, San Diego State, and San Jose State. The bottom of the SEC was Missouri and Tennessee at 5-7, and the top of the Sun Belt is South Alabama and Appalachian State. And the first game that we have here will be UAB versus Syracuse. Let's see if there is our first relegation today, or will Syracuse come out on top? As you can see, it was a back and forth battle. UAB goes up by 14, but Syracuse comes back, scores a touchdown. UAB goes up 2 scores once again, 3 scores now at 28-31-7. But Syracuse fights back as it's 31-15, 34-15 now. UBA scores another touchdown of 41-15. Can Syracuse make this amazing comeback, or are they going to be relegated to the AAC? No, it's 51-22 is really hard to come by with 29 seconds left. UAB is going to take a knee. And I think we're going to have our very first relegation as they take another knee, and they are going to win it 51-29. So we got our first relegation, which means Syracuse is going down to the AAC and UAB is going to the ACC. In our next game, we have Georgia Tech versus Tulane. Syracuse has already been relegated. Are we going to have two ACC teams go to relegation and go down to the AAC? Or are we going to have Georgia Tech stay up? Let's see. And the sim is much faster. As you can see, Georgia Tech went up 17-0, 23-10 now. Tulane and Georgia Tech are battling as Tulane scores two unanswered to go up 27-6. But as you can see, it's just back and forth. I'm not going to be able to keep up with it, but it's a back and forth game. Tulane has the ball at the goal line, first and goal, touchdown, ties it. He throws it and it's going to be intercepted. So Georgia Tech gets a major interception and they are going to avoid relegation as they are going to stay in the ACC, and Tulane has to wait until next year to try again. Now in this game we have UTEP versus ISU. I made the mistake in not showing the sim, but as you see, Iowa State is up 17-7 and UTEP gets sacked. They need to score twice in 7 seconds, and pretty sure that's not going to happen. They're going to spike the ball. They're going to try, but with 2 seconds left, they're down by 10. So they would need a miracle. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to get that miracle because now they're at 0 seconds. He throws it up, incomplete, turnover on downs anyway. So for UTEP, they are not going to make it as Iowa State is going to stay in the Big 12, which is a big deal because so far out of 3 games, we've only had 1 relegation, and that was Syracuse. But all these teams are going to have next year to try again. And let's get into our next game with Cincinnati Bearcats versus Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Let's see if we can get one more relegation, or are we only going to get 1 this year out of the 5 games, or not 5 games, but I don't know how many games are actually being played. But Cincinnati takes an early big lead. But as you can see, Western Kentucky is fighting back. They take a big lead, 42-23, and they just keep adding on. Cincinnati trying to fight back, but it looks like their comeback may be short because Western Kentucky has 73 points to 45. They take the knee, which means Cincinnati is going to lose and Western Kentucky is moving up to the Big 12. So that means Cincinnati will be going down to the CUSA and Western Kentucky to the Big 12. In our first Big 10 matchup, we have Minnesota versus Kent State. So, first matchup, the Big 10 in the Idaho Bowl. Let's see what happens here. We are going to sim. As you can see, Kent State did finish 11-2 and are ranked 24 in the league. So, I mean, that's not bad for a MAC team. They won their MAC pretty handedly. But let's see, it's 26-21 here. Kent State has the ball. A touchdown takes the lead. He throws the ball and they score a touchdown. So they are going to take the lead. It's going to be 27-26 right now. But with the pending the field goal, it could be up. They are going to go for 2 to put them up 3, which is pretty smart. But Minnesota will have 41 seconds to try to come back and tie inside the game with a field goal. He throws the ball down and they're not going to get the win, as Kent State is going to win the first Big 10 matchup versus MAC and win it pretty handedly, as they beat them by 3 and they stop them on the last minute drive, which means Minnesota is going down to the MAC and Kent State to the Big Ten. In our second Big Ten matchup, we are going to have Rutgers versus Toledo. Let's see if both Big Ten teams get relegated, or is Rutgers going to hold them off. And in the sim, as you see, there wasn't much scoring until the second quarter, and Toledo takes a 21-28, 35-0 lead. And finally, Rutgers decided to participate as they got closer, but don't know if it's going to be close enough. But it's only a 5-point game. Rutgers with the ball, throws it down the middle, incomplete. 1 second left. One more try. Even though it is a 12-point game, they're not going to win. So it looks like there are going to be 2 relegations in the Big Ten, which is insane. Did not see that coming at all. But I mean, Toledo is going to get the win, so that means Kent State and Toledo beat their opponents in the Big Ten to move up. And it was a pretty decisive game here, as it was a double-digit score. Rutgers goes down to the MAC and Toledo up to the Big Ten. Now for our first of the 3 Pac-12 versus Mountain West Conference games, we got UCLA versus the Fresno State Bulldogs. We already have pretty big upsets. I think we have 4 relegations already, so let's see if the Mountain West can pull off the upsets. UCLA finished 4-8, Fresno State 9-4. Fresno State had a 10-point lead, and UCLA takes it back, and it's a back and forth game here until we get to the fourth quarter with 21 seconds left, and UCLA kicks a field goal to tie it. And Fresno State has 19 seconds to go down, kick the game-winning field goal. Let's see if they can do it and get another upset. We are now in overtime, so they couldn't do it, and it's just back and forth with field goals. UCLA scores a touchdown, and right there you think, oh, maybe that's it. Maybe UCLA actually is going to win, because it's hard to score touchdowns in overtime. But Fresno State comes back. He throws the ball right into the end zone to tie it right back up. We are going to triple overtime. Yes, I said that right. Triple overtime in our first Pac-12 versus Mountain West Conference game. And Fresno State kicks the field goal and misses it. So UCLA has a chance here to take the lead, and they get in. So in triple overtime, UCLA avoids the upset by scoring a touchdown. And UCLA is celebrating heavily, because that would have been a really bad look if they lost to Fresno State in overtime. But our very first Mountain West versus Pac-12 championship goes to the Pac-12, which doesn't even exist anymore, which is sad. But we have our next game of Stanford versus San Jose State. Let's see if San Jose State can pull off the upset this time, or are they going to lose? Hopefully they don't, because relegation is fun. And in the sim, as you see, San Jose State took an early 14-0 lead, and Stanford fought back. That's going to be a theme in this series, that it's going to be a lot of fight back, as Stanford is 4-8, San Jose 8-4, and it's a lot of fighting back as Stanford tied it. And in the first overtime, San Jose State kicks a field goal, Stanford kicks a field goal. So in double overtime here, I don't know why I didn't cut that out, but if we're going to say 2 overtime games in the Pac-12 championship or the Pac-12 series, as Stanford throws for a touchdown, San Jose State runs for a touchdown. So in triple overtime, San Jose State kicks the field goal. And how does Stanford respond? Stanford responds with their own field goal. So quadruple overtime here. And we get another field goal from Stanford, 68-65. And let's see how San Jose State responds. Do they miss the field goal? Do they score a touchdown to win it? We'll see here. He throws the ball on 4th and 21. And it's a turnover on downs, because they were not in field goal range, which means Stanford is going to win.
They hold off a relegation on the first year, so they will stay in the Pac-12 for year 2. San Jose State came so close, but they couldn't get it done. And the next game is going to be the University of California, Berkeley versus the San Diego State Aztecs. Now, both Pac-12 teams have won. Let's see if San Diego State can put that to rest. So we are going to go into the sim. San Diego State already up 7-0, but Cal has answered back. And it's a back and forth game right now. There's been 2 games and they have all gone to overtime, but it looks like this one will not, as California is up big 51-28, and they pick up a first down, which means the clock is just gonna run out and San Diego State is not gonna have enough time to try to come back. The game is over. Pac-12 stays intact as all 3 teams have won. And in the next game we have Tennessee versus App State in our first of 2 SEC versus Sun Belt conferences. Let's see what Tennessee and App State can do. Can App State pull off the major upset against the 5-7 Tennessee Volunteers? As you can see, it's very, very hard to score in this game until the third quarter, where scoring becomes massive because they just fight back and forth. 36-36, 43-36. App State is going to have a chance to go down and tie the game. Do you think they can do it? 2nd and goal, last play of the game. They throw it short of the end zone and they are not going to get in, but they were so close. And Tennessee is going to survive in the very first SEC versus Sun Belt conference for App State. But it's okay, because now we have Mizzou versus South Alabama in our very last matchup of year 1. Let's see if there is another relegation, or are we going to have 5 straight teams stay in their conferences. And Missouri scores first at 5-7, and South Alabama is 9-4. Not bad in the Sun Belt Conference, but that might be a little too little of powerhouse against Missouri, as they are up big 45-3 already. And in the third quarter, they are up 45-3 still. And the score just keeps getting run up on South Alabama. They're not even going to have a shot, as they are down by 52 points right now in the fourth quarter. I didn't speed this one up. I have no idea why, but South Alabama, they're not quitting. But yeah, I fudged up that ending, but South Alabama is not going to win. And at the end of year 1, the top 25, it goes as follows. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Texas. Number 3, Ole Miss. Clemson 4, Michigan 5, Georgia 6. Yep, I am behind, but y'all can see as UTEP was actually number 20, which is pretty solid, and 25 would be Florida Atlantic. And then we have the Heisman winner will be Blake Corum, the Michigan quarterback. And the college football playoffs would be Ohio State versus Clemson, Georgia versus Oklahoma, with UGA and Clemson being the winners of the semifinals to go and play in the national championship. Now let's see how this game goes. See who will be our first national championship of the year, or first national champions of year 1. It's a back and forth battle right now, as it is tied up. Oh no, Georgia's down by 14, but they tie it up with a minute left. Georgia down by 7. They throw to the end zone and it is caught with 16 seconds. Clemson will have a chance to go down the field and win the game, but are they going to be able to do it? We'll see. As we've seen in the in relegation and in our Imperialism Challenge, the CPU doesn't do good at last second drives. As you can see, we are going to overtime. Georgia kicks a field goal in first overtime. Clemson kicks a field goal in the first overtime, and now we are in double overtime, where Clemson kicks a field goal and Georgia kicks a field goal, and in triple overtime, Georgia kicks a field goal, Clemson kicks a field goal. So quadruple overtime here. Clemson kicks a field goal and Georgia kicks a field goal. So we are in our 5th overtime where Georgia is going to get sacked and fumble the ball. And all Clemson needs to do is score and they'll win. But they got sacked on back-to-back plays. It is 2nd and 30. Now is Clemson going to be able to pull it out? Are they going to be able to do a miracle? Get back into field goal range in 2 plays. On 2nd and 30, Clemson throws it down and it is caught. 1st and goal. All Clemson needs to do is kick a field goal. Oh no, they need a touchdown to win or tie. So Georgia scored a touchdown and then they didn't get the 2-point conversion. So all Clemson needs to do is get the 2-point conversion right here. And they don't. So it's 60-60. In 6th overtime, Clemson kicks a field goal, and UGA is going to score a touchdown to win the national championship. So year 1 has a lot of relegations, and year 1 ends with a Georgia Bulldog national championship. As you can see, Carson Beck threw for 600 yards in this game. 600 yards is crazy. But Georgia wins the national championship. So let's get a recap of year 1. And to recap year 1, we had UAB, Western Kentucky, Kent State, and Toledo go up to the big Power 5 conferences, and Syracuse, Cincinnati, Minnesota, and Rutgers go down to the group of 5 conferences. That's going to do it for this episode, you guys. This was only going to be 1 year, but the next episode is going to be the next 4 years. And episodes 1 and 2 are going to be a combined of 5 years. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this series as much as I am going to enjoy making it. If you do, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.